Right. So 5.7 is about the division of polynomials. So this one is the last section of the whole semester. Okay. So let's start with the first objective here. First, we will say we will dividing by a monomial. By a monomial. What is monomial? Remember, we only have one term in this polynomial. So we will think this is the monomial we have. We have a polynomial, right? We actually have a binomial dividing by a monomial. So here 2m is a monomial. Let's see what will happen. So we talk about this one. We can write it into the fraction form actually. Then we're going to use the first term of the polynomial divided by the monomial plus the second term divided by the monomial. Let's see. So that will be first term divided by the monomial plus the second term also divided by the monomial. So after that, we will have 3m plus 1. Okay? So we can have 3m plus 1. Of course, we can always check the division by use the multiplication, right? So we know we only need to check the monomial times the quotient we have to see if we can get that binomial. So here we use the distributive rule, 2m times 3m's plus 2m's times 1. So then we realize we exactly get the same expression, which means we did it correctly. Okay? The quotient is correctly. So let's check another one. So remember, when we use a polynomial divided by the monomial, we only need to each term divided by the monomial plus the first term, 9x5 divided by 3x squared. The second term will be negative x squared divided by 3x squared. Of course, the last term will be 3x divided by 3x squared. Now we start from the first term. We will have 3x to the third. Okay, this time minus 12 divided by 3 will get minus 4. X squared divided by x squared, we will just have the 1. So we will just keep negative 4. And for the last one, x divided by x squared. So we can treat it as 1 over x, right? When we check the quotient here, we realize the answer is no longer a polynomial. Because remember, when we talk about the polynomial, we know the exponent or the power can only be a whole number, never have a negative number or fraction, right? So here, this term 1 over x actually have a negative exponent. Negative exponent. The exponent for x is negative 1. So this one is no longer a polynomial. So your answer is not necessary to be a polynomial. Okay? So this is about dividing by a monomial. Let's see another objective. Dividing by a polynomial. So here polynomial means it's not a monomial, okay? Here it's the polynomial other than a monomial. We will talk about the long division, okay? We will talk about the long division. Let's check the example. Or sometimes the question was that divide this one by this one. So we're going to use the long division to do the question. First, inside the division sign, we will put the first one. But to make sure, if there's some term missing, you should add the insert to the missing term. Okay? But here we have the x squared. So the degree of x is 2. In the second term, we have the degree of x is 1. And the last one, degree of x is 0. So nothing is missing. Then to the left, we will write this second term, x plus 3. So we will start with the first term. Let's see. The first term here is x squared. So what times x? We will get x squared. So we will know it's x. X times x, we will get x squared, right? So we will put x. Put it here. Why we should put it here? Because you see this column is just for the x term. 7x, so I put x right above this one. So I should keep them in the same column, same line. Okay. So then after I put x on the top, next step we should do the multiplication. We should use the distributive rule to do the multiplication. X apply to the x. The first term of this one is x. So we will do x times x first. We will get x squared. Why we should put it here? Because we still need to line up to the like term. Okay? So next one, x times the second term here is plus 3. So we will have plus 3x. So first we should decide which one we should put it as our quotient, as our part of the quotient. We put x here just because x times x plus 3, we will get the first term as x squared. So how can we get the x? It depends on the first term. Okay, the first term, x squared. We know only x times x we can get the x squared. So that's why we put x here. Why we should list x here? Because you see, this column is for the like term. Here we only put x. 7x, 3x, x. After we write x, next step we need to do the multiplication by using the distributive rule. So x times x, the first term, we write down x squared. Then x times the second term, positive 3, we will get positive 3x. And remember, we should line up our answer. So next step, we will do the subtraction. We should use x squared plus 7x minus x squared plus 3x. So we know this one we will get 0. So for this part, 7x minus 3x, we will have 4x. Then we should copy down the remaining term. the remaining part, the next term. Actually, we only copy down the next term. So we still need to check the second part of our quotient. So one number times x, we will get 4x. We only focus on the first term here, 4x. So which number times the x will get 4x? Definitely it's a 4, right? So after we put 4 here, we still need to do the multiplication. So 4 times x, we will get 4x. Then 4 times the second term, 3. So after that, we still do the subtraction, and we know we get 0. And all the term has already been divided. There's no remaining term. So we finished. We will get to the answer is x plus 2. X plus 2 is the quotient here. Okay, of course, you can always use the divisor times your quotient to see if you can get the dividend, right? So we could check if we did it correctly. This is our quotient times the divisor to see if we can get the dividend. So remember, we could use the distributive rule or the FOIL rule. Start with x squared plus 3x plus 4x plus 12. So we combine the like term, we will get this polynomial. And we compare this one to the original one, we realize it's just the dividend. Okay? So we could always using the multiplication to check if we do the division correctly or not. Okay, let's check another example. This time we divide by 3x minus 1. Okay, so we should use the long division. And before we start, we make sure check the dividend. If there's any missing term, we should insert the missing term first. Okay, so here we know the degree is 2, 1, 0, so nothing is missing. We could just copy down it. Then we put the divisor here. Remember, the first step, we should focus on the first term, 6x squared. So we should say, which 1 times 3x, we will get 6x squared. We will use 2x times 3x, we will get 6x squared. So the first term in our quotient will be 2x, right? But where I should put my 2x, remember? We should line up the like term. So here, this column is for x term. So we should put our 2x above 10x. So after we put 2x, we should go back to do the multiplication. And 2x times 3x, of course, to 6x squared. Then 2x times negative 1, we will get negative 2 squared. Okay? So we draw a line, then we should do the subtraction. Subtract the top, subtract the bottom. So 10x subtract negative 2x, which means we should plus the opposite. Subtract one number, which means we should plus the opposite. So 10x subtract negative 2, which means 10x plus the positive 2. So we actually will get 12x. Of course, we will copy one more term. Then we check. We only focus on the first term, 12x. We're going to know which one times 3x we're going to get 12x. So our answer will be just 4, right? After we put 4 here, we will check. We will use the multiplication. 12x, 4 times negative 4, we'll get 4 times negative 1, we will get negative 4. So after that, we realize this time we have the remainder, right? So negative 4 minus negative 5 minus negative 4. We actually equals negative 5 plus positive 4. We will have negative 1 as the remainder. We use top minus the bottom. So we have negative 1. So this will be our remainder because so there's no extra term in your dividend, right? We already tried each term of the dividend. So we will just stop here. And this is our remainder. So how can we write the final answer of this question? Of course, you can always check your answer, okay? Check your answer. But let's see, how can we write our answer? So first, we will put the quotient. Then, how can we write the remainder? We should write the remainder negative 1 divided by the divisor. So your remainder will be expressed by a fraction. Or you can write like this. Because here is negative sign, you can write it like this way. These two are equivalent, okay? So make sure you understand that the remainder is not just a value negative 1. You should put it into a fraction. Negative 1 over the divisor. You don't forget you should put your remainder over your divisor. Okay. Of course, you could check your answer by doing this. This time, this is the quotient, right? You still need to use your quotient times the divisor. And because you have the remainder, you should add your remainder. You should add your remainder. Okay? So you could write like this way. Add your remainder. So let's see, how can we do this one? We just use the FOIL method. So after we combine the like term, we will have this one. And we realize it's just the dividend, which means we did it correctly. Okay? Every time you do the long division, you can always use your quotient to do the multiplication to check your answer. If there is no remainder, so your quotient times your divisor should be equal to dividend. But if there is a remainder, just like this one, you should use quotient times divisor, then plus remainder. You will get the dividend. Okay, and another important thing is how can we write the remainder in the correct form? We should write the quotient first, then put your remainder on the top divided by your divisor. Okay, so this one is your remainder, right? And this one is your divisor. You should put it into this form. This is the correct form. Okay, so remember we talked about when we do the long division, if there's some term missing, we should insert the missing term first, then we could do the long division. So let's check one more example. When we check the dividend, we realize there is something missing. If we put them in order, we will write the highest degree is x to the third, right? So the highest degree is 3. Or we will say the degree of this polynomial is 3. So the next term, we're going to have the x squared, right? So we have that term. But the next term, we should have the x term. But here, we do not have x term. So we should insert this term, right? We should insert this term. Now we're going to check the last one. The number. So we insert the x term. So we put 0x here and divided by the 2x plus 3. Now, after we insert the like term, the missing term, we could do the division, do the long division, okay? So we put the dividend inside and the divisor outside. Let's start with the first term, 8x to the third. We will say which one times 2x, we will get 8x to the third. So of course, we will have 4x squared. So 4 times 2 will get 8. X squared times x, we will get x to the 3, right? So the first term of our quotient will be 4x squared. Then I should put this term just above 4x squared term, just above this one, because we need to line up the like term. Okay. After I put the 4x squared here, I will do the multiplication, right? I will do the multiplication. So here, let's check 4x squared times 2x. 4x squared times 3. So we will do the subtraction, the top minus the bottom. So 4 minus 12x squared, we will get negative x squared. Then we will copy down the next term. Each time we just copy one more, okay? So the next term is just the missing term. So 0x here, 0x here. Then we only check the first term. Which term times 2x, we will get negative 8x squared. So of course, we should negative 4. Negative 4 times 2 will get negative 8. And negative 4x, x times x will get x squared. So I should put the second term of a quotient at this position because we still need to line up our like term, right? So next step, we're going to use negative 4x to do the multiplication times 2x first. Negative 4x times 3. So we will still need to do the subtraction, the top minus the bottom. So 0 minus negative 12, just like 0 plus positive. So we will get 12x. Then we copy down the last term. Each time we copy down one more term, okay? So here, we only check 12x. Which one times 2x we will get 12x? Of course, it's 6, right? 6 times 2x, we will get 12x. Now we will do the multiplication. 6 times 2x, 12x, and plus 3 times 6, we will get 18. So this is our remainder. Sorry. It's negative 11. It's negative 11. We finished the long division. So how can we write our answer? We should write our quotient. Then plus the remainder. Here is negative 11, right? Plus remainder over the divisor. So this is the correct form to express your remainder. Okay, this is the correct form to express your answer. Quotient plus remainder divided by the divisor. Okay, so let's check one more. So when we start our long division, we always need to check for the dividend if there's any missing term. Okay, so the degree of this polynomial is 3. Remember, x to the third is the highest degree. So we will rewrite the polynomial as x to the 3. Then the second term should be x to the 2, right? But we do not have this term, so we will add 0 times x squared. We also need to have the x term, so this is another missing term. That will be 0x. After that, that's the constant. So we only check if there's any missing term for your dividend, right? For your divisor, it's totally okay. Can be any form. Then we will do the long division. So let's check the first term, x to the third. So which term times x we will get x to the third? The answer will be x squared. Why I should put x squared at this position? Because we want to line up the like term, right? X squared above the x squared term. So do the multiplication. After that, we will check the difference. The top one minus the bottom one. So minus positive just like a plus 2. Next step, we just copy down one more term. So we just copy this, right? Then we check the first term here, 2x squared. So which one times x will get 2x squared? We will say 2x times x, we will get 2x squared. So still do the subtraction, we will get positive 4x. We copy down the last term, 4x minus 8. So the last one, we talk about which one times x will get 4x. It's just 4, right? 4x minus 2 times 4 will get. And we find there's no remainder. Then we realize the answer here is this one. Okay, so when you do the long division, first check your dividend. If there's any missing term, if there is a missing term, make sure you should insert the missing term first. then you could start your long division. Okay, so and after you get your answer, you always could use the multiplication to test if you get the correct answer. If you got the quotient without remainder, then you will use the quotient times the divisor to check if you will get the dividend. But if you have the answer just like you have the quotient and the remainder, then you should use quotient times divisor plus remainder to get the dividend. And remember how to write your answer in the correct form when you have the remainder. See, the quotient plus remainder over divisor. So the last part will be a fraction. Okay, that's all for chapter 5.